Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. Hope you're well. We're all good here. It's obviously you have to have the South London weather update. Quite nice actually. Not really August weather. It's not burning hot, but it's all right. Anyway, enough about that. I am aware that I'm starting to get a bit obsessed with the weather. I seem to be mentioning it on Instagram constantly as well, so I will try and curb that. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about a relatively new fragrance to me, but it's not a new fragrance at all. It's been around for a long time, and it is Aramis Havana. And what we're trying to do today is discover if it's still relevant, because it is an old fragrance. It came out in '94. You know, Aramis have been around forever. I was, you know, well aware of this one, which is the original, and still lovely. It's incredibly dated, but it is still really, really nice. I like Aramis a lot. You know, I mentioned in a previous video when I was a young thruster, you know, my local pub seemed to be full of it. And it's still kind of, when I smell it, it still takes me back to those days. I was talking to Rich actually, and apparently this is his father's signature scent. So it means a lot to him as well. So we're always going to have a soft spot for Aramis. Might not wear it very often, but you know, I always like to have a bottle around. And then I think it was last year or maybe the year before, I came across this, which is Aramis Tobacco Reserve. Love it. Really, really enjoy this one. It's tobacco and tonka bean effectively are the main drivers within Tobacco Reserve. This is a really, really good fragrance. It's a really sweet, luscious, interesting tobacco. Quite a grown-up one, quite a stylish fragrance, but it is quite sweet. So with Havana, I was wondering, and the whole point of this video really is, because obviously we have, you know, lots of more mature fragrance enthusiasts that enjoy this channel, but there are a few younger thrusters out there as well. So what I wanted to try and discover is this Aramis Havana, is it still relevant today? Is there still a place for it? Is it worth exploring? And if it is it purely only for the more mature fragrance enthusiast? Well, let's talk a bit about it first, and then what we'll do is I'll have a chat and give you my opinion, because I think, you know, for the money, some people are missing out on an absolute bargain here, and I think they're kind of a bit put off because of sort of, you know, pops and grandpops that wear this kind of stuff, and they probably haven't tried this one, because this is very, very good for the younger thruster. So all right, let's have a look at this one. First and foremost, Aramis Havana came out in 1994. It was Natalie Feistwasser and Xavier Renard that were the noses behind it. A real, sorry Rich, but there's a real complicated list noting for this. It uses a heck of a lot of materials to combine these notes. And at the top you have Artemisia, then you have caraway, then you have mandarin orange, and you have basil. That's on the top. In the mid you have carnation, you have fir, you have cinnamon, and you have the all-important tobacco. And then on the base you have sandalwood, patchouli, oak moss, and vetiver. Now, like the other Aramis, the original, this one is all about blending. So it's not, I don't know, it's not, apart from the tobacco, which is a real star of the show, you're not really going to be picking out loads of different notes on it. I think also, because it has got citrus in the top, you're kind of expecting it to be quite citrusy, and to me it isn't really. There is it suggests citrus more than celebrates it. Now I am wearing it, but what I'll do for the purposes of the review is have a little spray now. It is lovely. There's almost a slight astringent soapiness that just leaps out of you, and I think that is the citrus battling away with the other notes that are there. And what I will say is, and this is where it becomes incredibly pertinent for the younger thruster, there is a good few minutes in the opening of this fragrance, especially sort of like the first 5 to 10 minutes, where it does have very much an old school cologne vibe to it, which this one, well, this one carries that vibe all the way through, whereas this one certainly doesn't. What it does is it just sets a scene, so you'll know you're wearing what a lot of people would smell and think, that's an aftershave, and it does kind of have that vibe to it, but only to start off with. As I say, in about 10 minutes, it starts to get a bit heavier and a bit darker, and it is a little bit fougere-like. I think some people have described this as being a barbershop. I'm not too sure it is a barbershop. I think there's a little bit more to it than that. It's certainly a fougere-like fragrance, but what this does is this celebrates tobacco in a really, really splendid way. And what it does is it does it very cleverly. Whereas this one here, This one relies on sweetness, and it uses the tonka bean to bang and beef up the sweetness to make it a very sweet fragrance. I generally find sweet fragrances are more appealing to more people than, say, you know, a dry, crisp fragrance, which this one is. So if you like a sweeter fragrance, I would certainly get that one instead. That'll be much more up your street. But because of its lack of sweetness, Havana gives you a bit more versatility. It doesn't have to be worn in cold weather or hot weather. This is a good one for all year round, and I've been wearing it on a warm day and it's absolutely fine. In the winter, I think this is going to be crisp, and because there's enough freshness in it, it's going to carry that across very, very well. Now, the tobacco in here is the real star of the show, and it does remind me of a little of one of my favourite tobaccos, which is Ormond Jane's Montebaco. This is the Verano that I have here, which is slightly different to the normal Montebaco. But that again does a sort of a non-sweet, dry tobacco note, which this one shares. Now, they don't smell alike. If you put them side by side, they'll be worlds apart. But the tobacco note in this does remind me a little bit of the Ormond Jane. Now, when I sampled this, I knew Rich didn't have it. Well, I didn't sample it actually. When I blind bought this, I knew Rich didn't have it, and I sprayed it and I wore it and thought, do you know what? Rich is going to love this. So I sent a bottle up to him because I'm quite kind like that. And also, it's really, really cheap too. I think I paid £20 for this. So I sent Rich a bottle up and it arrived, and he sprayed it, and he rang me straight away and said, my God, this is awesome. His wife loved it. My wife likes it. It certainly appeals. But here is the question. Me and Rich are both old farts. So is this going to be relevant to the younger thruster? Well, I don't know. I'll tell you what I do find is there's not very much in the way of designer fragrances on the market at the moment that I've tried that I'm all that excited about. We have a lot of kind of like bluey fragrances. We have a lot of sport versions. We have a lot of kind of, I don't know, wishy-washy. There's a lot of shower jelly type fragrances out there and stuff like that. And that's fine. They're very popular for a reason. Lots and lots of people like them. But also, you know, when you're starting to buy sort of more high-end designer fragrances, a lot of them are quite expensive now. You know, you're talking sort of 100ml bottles at 80, 90 pounds in some cases. So you've got to be really, really careful about it, and you need to go and sample these fragrances. So I'm thinking, because, you know, the ones I've tried, I'm not going to slag any companies off or anything like that. Apart from, I will say, Gucci Agility Absolute is a designer fragrance that I don't have at the moment, and I absolutely adore it. I think that is one that needs to be applauded, and I'll just say thank you to Gucci for making something that is quite a controversial fragrance that isn't, you know, an easy wear for a lot of people. I think it's magnificent. So that is one designer fragrance that's out there at the moment that I am really, really keen on. Anyway, I digress. So with this lack of designer fragrances that are leaping out at me as something that I would want to buy, I decided to go back and you know, delve into these older fragrances. And this one is one that I'm so glad I did. Havana is amazing. It's obviously named after the Cuban capital, which is legendary for its cigars. So there's your tobacco, your tobacco connection there. But the thing is, when I picture Havana, I don't just think of tobacco. I think of old American cars. I think of rum. I think of partying. I think of exotic nights and, you know, people, journalists running around in white linen suits that are all creased to pieces while, you know, some chaos is going on. And bizarrely, I think of a fantastic healthcare service. But, you know, maybe I've been watching too many documentaries. So for this, does this give me a simulation or a facsimile of Havana? Not really, no. It doesn't. It would need more booze in it. If, for example, Guerlain's Homme had a heavy tobacco note in it, that would be Havana. This is a very nice, mature, fragrance with tobacco in it, and the tobacco drives it. It's a dry tobacco, it's a rich tobacco, it's not sweet, it's very nice, it's very appealing, and it's a professional scent. So is this still applicable for the younger man? I'm going to say yes. But it has to be a confident young man or a woman. I do think, I would say this is a masculine fragrance and therefore it's not going to be one for ladies, but I know so many women in perfume now that love wearing masculine fragrances, and I really applaud that. So yeah, I think, like all of these, try it. I mean, it's a cheapie, so if you do blind buy it and it goes wrong, it's not the end of the world, but it's a good one. I watched Pep over at the Sentinel, the Australian guy, I think he's in Sydney. He reviewed this. He did a review of this a long time ago, and I've recently watched it. And he really nails it. He really gets this fragrance. So, you know, nice one, Pep. I will put a link to your channel in here as well. So if you want to take somebody else's opinion on it, take Pep's. But listen, this is awesome. It's a real cheapie as well. So please, you know, when you're looking, you know, you've got that itch to get a new perfume and you want to go out, don't be put off by the fact that this is Aramis, and you know, they're a traditional old fragrance house that have been churning out fragrances for a long, long time. Please don't let that detract from wanting to try this, especially if you're a younger guy, because I can guarantee you, you're going to be the only one wearing it. Nobody else is going to be going for this, and it's beautiful. It's very refined. I think it'll be fantastic for work. It will be fantastic for, you know, going out for a drink. It's a casual fragrance, but I think also if you're going out, you know, with your girlfriend or your girlfriend's family or your partner's family or whatever you want, and you want to be smart and you want to be well thought of, this is a good fragrance for that. You know, it's very classy. It oozes class, and I don't know, it just gives the impression that if you smell this on someone, you think, they're taking good care of themselves, because it's that kind of fragrance. There's a lot going on. There is a lot of notes, but ultimately you're left with an interesting sort of clean fragrance, which I think is excellent, and certainly something to give you as a person gravitas. So I thoroughly recommend this. I think it's an excellent frag and one that you should explore. Please don't be put off by, you know, the old school vibe about it. But I will, as I said earlier in the review, you have to be aware that for the first sort of 5-10 minutes, it does have an old school cologne feel to it. Then all the other notes come flying in, and you know, there's a little bit of florals going in here. It's quite a herbal fragrance as well, so you've got all that kind of coming across. But you know, as previously mentioned, it's blended so well. Nothing's really dominant. Everything is sitting around it to show off this beautiful tobacco note, which is perfect. And as I say, it's quite refreshing to have a non-sweet, dry tobacco fragrance. I think it's excellent. Well, listen, if you are a young thruster and you've got it, let me know what you think. And if you're an old git like me and you like it, let me know what you think. Now, I've got these are the three that I've got from Aramis. I think Rich is after a couple more. I don't know. I think maybe I've gone as far as I'm going to go with this. Probably, there may be a couple that I'm interested in, but if I get them, I will let you know. Right, where's it gone? Here it is. Right. Okay, one thing I did forget to mention, and it wouldn't be a questioning sense review if I hadn't mentioned the performance. Performance is pretty good. It's not beast mode. It's a subtle fragrance. For the first hour or so, it does kick out somewhat. But then it drifts back off. It's a professional scent. It's not there to dominate a room. It's there to keep you smelling nice for quite a long period of time. I get realistically probably 7 to 8 hours before it's something that I have to start searching for. This will certainly get you through a night out, unless you're out really late, and then you've got to ask yourself why. But no, seriously, it does last pretty well. I certainly get a good, if I went out for a meal or went out to the pub for an evening or something like that, it would still be very noticeable when I came back. It wouldn't be overpowering. It's not that kind of fragrance. It does have a slight sillage. It leaves a nice trail. But as I say, it's not one that's going to dominate a room or anything like that. But it's exactly what it's meant to do. You don't want it to be any stronger than that. You know, spray it as you would spray any perfume. There's no need to go heavy or light with it. It's just, I don't know, for performance-wise, it's absolutely perfect for what it is supposed to be. So I'm happy with the performance on it. And that's about it, really. I really like this one, and I hope you guys do too. So if you have got it, let me know what you think. And especially if you're a younger guy, let us know how you're getting on with it, because that's kind of like the crux of this video. So anyway, listen, thank you very much for your time. We shall see you on the next video. Cheers and bye.